Mass Effect Andromeda. How I have waited for you to come out for a good couple of years since Mass Effect 3, keeping myself from following you so closely as I had wanted to, and not driving myself crazy when your beta was cancelled. I ended up buying the EA access just so I could play early. However, due to some issues, I was only ever able to play for no more than an hour of multiplayer. But it got me curious, so I waited until release date. Now that you have released, it's time to delve in and explore all that you have, from your meme-inspiring animations to combat to facial displays that sometimes make me chuckle, and of course complain about all the things I didn't like on my first day playing. So, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Fate, and I'm coming back from the shadows. Been away for a while, so I figured, Mass Effect's the big game right now, so why not give him a little 2 cents from my first day of gameplay and the game, and yeah, just let the world know how I feel about it. So, I'm going to complain about the things that I don't like right now, even though I just repeated it in the last sentence, but hey, I'm trying not to be as scripted, but yeah. I've invested about a good 10-ish plus hours in both single player and multiplayer, mostly multiplayer. So, let's get started. Going to come in speaking, of course, about the character customization. I have quite a few issues with it, as my biggest one is really the hairstyles. Like, they're really bad to me, especially on the male model. They're just like, yeah, like the afro looks really weird. Some of the other hairstyles are like, eh. Plus, like the hair textures look funny to me. Honestly, I was gonna make a male character, but I didn't really like the hairstyles, and I'm like, why is that I couldn't have Liam's locks, which look pretty decent in the game. Then, the tattoos. It's really like they could have done better. I mean, some of the tattoos are really the same tattoo but put on the other side of the face. I don't know why I can't have more than one tattoo. Like I would love to have multiple tattoos, but you can only choose one because some of them are literally the same tattoo, just mirror imaged. It doesn't make sense to me. Then we're gonna talk about the scars. It's pretty much all I can say. They look like they were like pieces of tape, just like put on the skin, and then there is a little bit of texture on them, but yeah, they don't look that great. They're like super super glossy, and one of my friends was like, "Oh well, they were in cryo sleep for a long time," but it's like if they maintain to keep your body in check, I figured scars would heal better, but that's not the case. Then, speaking of scars and tattoos, you can't really move them or scale them. And it's like, really? Like, character customization, and I cannot customize my scar or tattoo is a big problem to me. And lastly, the facial hair on the male models are hilarious, especially that weird combo thing of like triangular patches on the chin and stuff. It was just no. It was just certain models just it already looks bad, and then with on certain skin types it looks even worse. Now, I'm gonna go into the UI. To me, these are just a couple of issues that aren't really issues, but just more so things that I wish you could do. Now, I went through the options, and as a RPG person, I kind of like seeing my experience bars on my screen. And I also at times like seeing the damage numbers. You can see them when you compare items to each other or when you're switching weapons, but I would love to be able to see how much the headshot's doing, so that way just for me I can test those weapons better. It's just my personal change. Then also picking missions can be a bit confusing, as it automatically puts you in like this folder, which I don't understand why there's a folder, but its priority is the folder of the mission that you're currently doing, which in the beginning was very hard for me to figure out how to check my other missions that I had available or to track them if I wasn't clicking them on the map. And then speaking of the map, I really wish the map was able to be open with possibly just a long press of the start button or even a long press of the double window button, because honestly, start A and then moving around just to me feels unnecessarily clunky. And on top of that, I wish that the minimap was a bit better because it's not to me. It doesn't pick up on a lot of things from a certain distance unless you're like right in that area, which I figured, sci-fi and you rely on Sam for everything, you should be able to pick up more things from a distance rather than having to open your map. And yeah, it's just annoying. Some gameplay issues that I have would be sometimes trying to vault over cover or even just getting into cover sometimes can be a hassle. It's like you have to push forward and B for Xbox and most likely I believe it's circle, being that we are talking color coded and they use the same color codings. But whatever. It's it's annoying sometimes, especially when you're low on health and it tells you to find cover so your shields can regenerate and you're trying to vault over something to get out the way and it's just like nah, doesn't want to cooperate. Then my biggest annoyance is the clipping issue when you're jetpacking up to a higher platform. Like your character will get up there and then it'll climb up, but then sometimes it ends up moving back and falling down because your knee like went into the surface and it pushes up against your character model. So then it's just like, okay, I just double jumped to get here. Maybe I'm running from somebody or maybe I'm trying to get to something and now I have to do more jumps. Then sometimes even with the jump jets, it's like it's a bit clunky as well because you tap the A, just to get a little boost. Sometimes it doesn't even make it over basic cover that's on the ground, like small pieces of cover. Like you have to like hold the A button to do like a fully maximum level jump, which I find annoying. Then scanning, honestly, starts to feel gimmicky after a while because I understand you're a pathfinder and you're supposed to research things, but it's just like, um, couldn't some of these things that you need to ping up on be like built in rather than you having to stay in that slowly moving animation of pressing down on the D-pad and walking and pretty much looking around at everything. And then sometimes hitting the X or the A button doesn't even register the highlighted object, which therefore leads to annoyance of you having to move closer or trying to angle better. Lastly, we're going to talk about multiplayer, which honestly I have to say in the beginning, especially in the early access, was a nightmare. I mean, if you're trying to go in as a solo person, sometimes you get stuck. I mean, when I first played, I tried to run by myself. I literally waited 10 minutes and still got nobody to join my match. And then I read somewhere that the connection is peer to peer, which honestly I don't think is a great way to handle multiplayer connections, especially being that if the host has a bad connection, everyone gets dropped. So therefore, all of that time you just spent in that match is now gone. And sometimes you can even have trouble coming back into that match, especially if the host decides to leave, and therefore, you just spent however much time, because I think on average a match may take about 20-ish minutes. So it would suck if you're like on wave 7, which is extraction, and in the last like 30 seconds of the match you get dropped because it's like, wow, all that wasted. So again, with the peer to peer, it has me asking the question, why didn't they decide to go with dedicated servers? I mean, to me, as big as this franchise is, and as much money as it has brought in the past, because Mass Effect is a great franchise, I don't see why they didn't go with dedicated servers. I mean, did they not see the whole debacle with For Honor? I mean, the only redeeming quality to For Honor's peer to peer is the fact that if you get dropped, an AI takes your place, or if the other person drops, an AI takes their place. Mass Effect doesn't do that. It's literally if somebody drops, good luck. If you drop, good luck. If you don't wait for people to join your party before you start the match, and say you're solo or with another person or two, that's all that's going to be in that match with you. At least from my personal experience, I haven't seen anybody join in a match once it started before. So if it happens, then, let me know down in the comments, but I haven't seen that. And then lastly, I really feel like the whole cash shop was like a last minute thing. Probably not a last minute thing, it's probably planned. But it's just like they put that in there to kind of like force the hand, because it's like, okay, you can try to run matches. Hopefully you don't get dropped from the host, or your connection doesn't get severed from the host, and you can hopefully find enough people to play with if you don't already have three other people to play with. And then you have to grind about 15, 20 matches really to get up to the 100,000 mark, which gives you the best crate box, whatever you want to call it, from the store, just so that way you can get a better chance at actually getting some good weapons and classes and mods and such. Excuse me. So that way it makes it a bit easier for you to clear harder difficulties in the game. And yeah, I know that, higher difficulty gives more credits, but it's still the fact of I have to make sure my connection is stable, and then I have to make sure that I can complete the mission. But I wouldn't expect somebody with bronze tier starter gear to be able to clear a silver or gold unless they're being carried by some really top tier players who pretty much just tell them sit in the corner and don't worry about anything. So, with that, I really hope as time goes on, the game does get better with quality of life patches, really to just remedy some of these issues that I've talked about, as many of them really are just quality of life issues. But at the end of it all, complaints aside, I am actually enjoying Mass Effect a lot. I mean, I'm a fan of the series. It's been one of my favorite games on the 360 to play, and I'm going to continue playing this into the near future. So, again, it's your boy Fate. I'll catch you later, YouTube. Peace.